All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Pokemon Trainer Evan ranking series. I just did part one of the generation starters, and now I'm on to part two. So, with that, we are going to have our Gen 5 through 9 starters. Quick review: we're working on appearances, we're looking at evolutionary lines, and personal preferences or specialty notes. Um, so if you haven't seen part one, I highly suggest you go catch that. I'll throw that in the link in the description below, as well as the link to Tiermaker. But without further ado, let's get back into it with Gen 5. So it's kind of a weird place to start Gen 5 because I was so positive on Gens 1 through 4 as a whole. Gen 4 was the only one I even got a C. So clearly, I like a lot of the starter Pokemon. Gen 5 is where I'm going to have a downfall. Tepic. Tepic's a D. I'll go to Tepic and then go back to Snivy. It's going to drive me insane that I do in that order, but that's what happens when you do things off the cuff. Tepig is just there. What about Tepig suffers from the Torchic effect I had earlier, but worse. What about Tepig says fire Pokemon? So in my previous video, if you saw it, what about Torchic really gives you fire type starter vibes or fire Pokemon vibes? Outside of the orange color scheme, there's not much there, but at least with Combuskin and with Blaziken, you get closer to that. Blaziken especially, at least you kind of at least can go, there's something about it that gives me a little fire vibes. What about Tepig gives you that? At all. Tepig screams ground type Pokemon to me, not fire. And especially fire starter. And that's my biggest problem with Tepig, which is why Tepig is such a D. I prefer Pignite a lot over Torchic, and even though Emboar is based off of clearly has some pro wrestling basis off of it, with all three of them do technically with the underwear vibe or the trunks vibe into the singlet vibe into the full warrior vibe or full outfit vibe that the three Pokemon have, which is a decent story, which I do like, and it's redeeming quality. Emboar, it's based off a pro wrestler. I love pro wrestling, and I don't care for Emboar that much. It's kind of whatever. It's got a weird fire collar that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's other Pokemon that have fire collars that make a lot of sense. Emboar's doesn't to me. Pignite's the best of the three. I adore Pignite. I think it's just a fun, derpy, great guy. But Tepig, what? But all of them, until you get Emboar's weird collar, what about them says fire type? What about them gives fire starter energy? That's my biggest problem. Especially Gen 5, it's the largest generation of Pokemon. There could have been something way better for that design choice to make me think of fire. Tepig does not make me think of fire at all. Even if I'm trying to stretch, Torchic gives me this little frayed fur vibe that gives a little bit of an explosion feel like Typhlosion and the Cyndaquil line. There's something there. Tepig doesn't. So Tepig is a D for me, unfortunately. Snivy. One of the few comments I got in my last one is I had Snivy too low. I'm keeping Snivy where he is because Snivy's not my vibe, but I will. That's a lie. I will raise Snivy to a B because of this. I have Snivy at a B. My previous video, I had Snivy at. Sorry, I have one loose hair. It's driving me crazy. I have Snivy at a B now. I had him at a C previously because of this, and I think it's kind of unfair to rank other Pokemon higher for this and then not have Snivy higher. I had Snivy at a C for this reason. Long-winded answer, but I don't like Superior. I think Superior, honestly, for me, kind of sucks. If you like Superior, good for you. It's not my vibe. It's not my thing, and I really hate the degenerative evolution vibe where done the way it's done with Snivy. It's got this teeny little legs, but it fits for Snivy. The legs seem to get teenier when you go to Servine. And then we get Superior, it has no legs whatsoever. And I get it, it's a snake. But personally, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's not done well. And I don't think Superior is great. Snivy, the reason I'm going to bring him up from the C to the B, even as negative as I am on the line, because I don't like the final two, is Snivy perfectly encapsulate character design, not Pokemon design, character design. Snivy's little grin, it's the nose going up. It perfectly encapsulates what that Pokemon is about. It feels superior to you. It feels like it's better than you. That is great character work. So I will take some constructive criticism and say, yeah, Snivy belongs higher because of that and that alone. I don't think it's a phenomenally cool Pokemon or well designed from just a appearance. Look at this thing and have something to go off of and really enjoy it. I don't think Snivy gives that vibe. Um, but from a character standpoint, it's a great design choice. So I'll bring Snivy up to a B, even though the rest of the line I couldn't care for. But Snivy, I'll put it a B now. And then going to Oshawott, if I can find Oshawott. There we go. Oshawott is not D. I'm just bringing it up. I am going to put Oshawott. I'm just looking at my notes quick. I will put Oshawott. I'm going to give Oshawott an A. I like Oshawott a lot. I think Oshawott is the best of the three starters from Gen 5 because of big things and little things. Big things. They all have a vibe of there's something adorable about all three of them. Because Tepig is adorable. Snivy, I get you can get there. I see it. Oshawott just has. It's almost like they're going through the journey of happiness. Like Tepig's really happy, Snivy's kind of happy, and Oshawott's just timid and scared. But I love that because it's different from a lot of these other Pokemon. But I love the color scheme choices of Oshawott. I love the shell design and the little bubbly neck scarf vibe. I think that's great for Oshawott. It's just so smart. And I love the color scheme and the heavy white usage here. And the little brown nose. I think that's great. And I think Duat and Samurott are really well designed Pokemon. That because they use that shell is all the difference. Oshawott, you can get the vibe of water from even without the shell. It wouldn't be as strong, but you could get water. Yeah, I don't know if you could say the same about Duat. Samurott, you definitely could. But with the shell, it takes it over the top, or the shell motif going through, which is really cool. And I think the flip side of the Snivy to Superior, going down, Oshawott starting on 2 limbs or 2 legs and then going to 4 with Samurott shows this journey of timid, fearful starter Pokemon or fearful creature to beastly, aggressive, take no prisoners, I'm coming for you vibe, which I think tells a wonderful story through design. And I love that. And Samurott still feels cool. It still feels fun. It still feels inviting. My exposure to Gen 5 is all through Pokemon. Black and White and Black and White 2 came out at a time where I was furthest away from the franchise. I really only cared for the older games at the time. So Gen 5 I do have a lot of time to make up for with. However, I have played a good portion of the generation through Pokemon. There's not a question in my mind every single time I would play a Gen 5 game. I'm starting with Oshawott, and it's not a contest. I would think about Tepig, not because I want Tepig, only because I'd keep it at Pignite, because Pignite's just my vibe and I like it, but I'd have to go Oshawott the whole time. And I thought Oshawott was one of the only starter from that line that could have been in Pokemon Arceus that I would have been excited about. Where I was like, oh, I've never gotten to play Oshawott really before. I want to play Oshawott, which was fun in Arceus. So um, I really do enjoy Oshawott quite a bit. But it's just not, Gen 5 is just not my thing. An A, a B, and a D. I don't think it's well designed. I really think Snivy belongs more in a C, but the character design of it is so well done. I'll bring it up to a B. That we go to Gen 6, and Gen 6, if you didn't watch my previous video, I'll be the first to tell you I'm super high on it, but not with Chespin. Chespin's a D. What is Chespin? What is it? Outside of the green quills, what about it says grass type Pokemon? What about it says grass type starter? Do you know? Because I don't. That's kind of where I'm at. And I don't think Quilladin has any grass Pokemon energy to it whatsoever, grass type vibe at all. And I don't think Chestnut does. I guess you could say I was going for a Chestnut, but then where do you get Chespin from? And I guess Quilladin has a little bit of that, but like I don't think that's there. And I think the color scheme throughout, it goes dark with green and dark with green, and then it goes really white with green. I don't think it's coherent design play, and I think that's my biggest problem with it. I know Chestnut is based off of a barbarian RPG character. That I like. I think that's a really cool vibe. Chestnut by itself, not so bad. But it's the best of a pitiful line in my opinion. I am not impressed with Chespin. I don't think Chespin's great. I think one could argue I think Chespin might be my lowest ranked starter Pokemon. And it's because of that. I think the only reason I might start thinking about that is because I like just Chestnut more than I like Emboar. But by the critiques I'm giving it, I don't think I'm going to have Chespin higher. I'm just not a Chespin fan. Meanwhile, Fennekin is an S. Fennekin's genius. I gushed over Fennekin in the previous video. I'll gush again. I'll try not to do it as much though. Fennekin is chef's kiss perfect. The color scheme gives you fire Pokemon in a different way than the other ones does. The hint of fire is great with all the different colorations of fire, with the yellow, with the orange, with the reds, especially that deep red inside the eyes and the white flame off of the whiskers or off the face. Brilliant. Brilliant. And I love the hints of fire with the hair coming from the ear that are clearly flame shaped subtly. It takes the subtle wave pattern of Squirtle and takes it to a whole nother vibe and a whole nother level. I love Fennekin. And frankly, I think Fennekin is another great thing, kind of like the mischievous monkey vibe. Fennekin has mischievous fox. There's a mystique about a fox. There's something wild and majestic about foxes. Why we find them so appealing. Why we find them so endearing. Why, if you see a fox, you think it's special. It's got that mystique you can't truly capture or put into words, like fire does. So it's so smart to have a fox that is a fire Pokemon, let alone a fire starter. It's so smart. And I'm actually a huge fan of both Braixen and Delphox. I know some people think they're a little too sexualized. I get that. I don't see that. I think there are other Pokemon with way bigger issues in that department. I get it. Braixen is clearly more effeminate, I guess, in design, but I don't think that's a problem, especially when you have in the same design or in the same generation, you have Chestnut that's such clearly boy energy that I think it's great that there's more of an effeminate balance there. And I like Braixen a lot. I think Delphox is great. Delphox is so cool, especially with the wand. So dope. Fennekin. Chef's kiss. Glorious. Here we go. Froakie. I like Froakie more than I like Fennekin. Mostly because of Greninja. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Greninja is near perfect, and it's a top 10 Pokemon of all time. If I were just ranking appeal, vibe, and intriguing nature of Pokemon, because I think Greninja really could make a run for top 10 most recognizable Pokemon, or most important Pokemon, or most popular Pokemon. Any of those categories, I think Greninja could be competitive in. Because really, it's Pikachu, Charizard, and then the debate begins. Lucario's in there. Some of the legendaries are in there. The Gen 1 starters are in there. Eevee's in there at this point. But Greninja is such a good Pokemon that you have to bring Froakie up. But beyond that, I think Froakie has a lot of the similar design choices that I love that Fennekin does. I love the subtle notes of bubbles in the scarf. It's great. It doesn't have to hit you over the head with water, just like every starter design for water. Notice how all the waters have never been below a B by this point, because they're really well designed. They're smart. I love that for about Froakie. I think the pose, the eyes, they give a different vibe. They give you fun friend, but they also give you a thinking idea, in that they give you a vibe that Froakie is thinking, and it's plotting, and it's smart. I love that. And it gives you a bit of that character design of where it's going. That's where I think it is. Where I don't think you could really get that with Fennekin, which is another reason I'd probably put Froakie above Fennekin. But these two are great. They're so good. And I have to gush over them. But Gen 6 in general, I think I'm probably, when I did a private rankings of Gen 6 with a friend of mine, I think Gen 6 is the best designed generation of Pokemon ever. It helps that there are fewer Pokemon than ever, but still, what a well designed generation, and I think it's great. Two S's, the two of the best designs. It brings Chespin up a lot. But that's Gen 6 for you. Gen 7. Again, super high on Gen 7. This one, I'm telling you right now, is personal bias, but I do have a lot of similar thoughts. Rowlet is an S. Rowlet is my favorite starter, mostly because it goes to Decidueye, but I do love Rowlet. I love owls, and that is a personal thing for me, but I love the difference of a grass type Pokemon that flies. I think that is such a cool way to show the balance of nature that's in every grass type Pokemon that's well designed. Bulbasaur, very ground based. Chikorita, ground based. Turtwig, ground based. Chespin, ground based. Snivy, clearly ground based, especially as it goes to Superior. Trico's the only one that has something not directly on the ground, and even that you may be able to argue. Rowlet going up into the sky, but bring that leaves. It brings that the majesty of high trees with it. I love that idea. And I love the difference in color scheme. Look, green, 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 green. Yes, brown, but at least prominent green. It's brown. Very prominent green in the middle, but it's this tan brown color. It's the whites. And the face is just so cute and adorable, but it has a different vibe than any of them. And I love that. And I love the idea of this dapper little gentleman, of what a kid is supposed to look like in their parents' eyes, going towards this lovable rogue character of Decidueye. Decidueye, for people who don't know, Decidueye is a perfect Pokemon for me. It's a grass ghost Robin Hood owl archer Pokemon. If you were to tailor make a Pokemon for me as a human being, that's exactly what it probably would spit out if you made a machine that could do that. Or you could take a thought out of my head. That is such my vibe. And Decidueye is such a well-designed, super cool character. And Dartrix is really cool too, because it's kind of got that floppy teen vibe to it, where it's finding itself. It's finding where it's going to go, but it's not there yet. So it takes it from this lovable little child all the way to this dashing rogue. I love the storytelling elements there. And I think that would be a great justification for why I love Rowlet. But yeah, personal preference. Love me some Rowlet. Rowlet's great. Litten is also, moving on. Litten is, sounding very Jersey and very East Coast. Litten, or Litten, is an S for me. I would have Litten. I'm just looking for my placement here. I'd have Litten right behind Eevee. I think it's got a very different vibe than all the starter Pokemon, and the whiskers really give you the hint of the fire. But it has the mischievous vibe that I like. And also, Pokemon Company. Sometimes we gotta just use base logic here. And you did it with Litten. Dogs and cats are the two most popular animals on the planet. And it took you 7 generations to make one a starter Pokemon. Obviously, people are going to be drawn to the dog Pokemon and the cat Pokemon because they're the most prominent animals on the planet. Like, it's not that hard. But again, it's got the mischievous black cat vibe to it. And I think the black is such a cool color scheme to hint at the dark type that Incineroar is going to turn into. I think that's really smart. And I love that it's got this plotting, mischievous vibe to it. A couple times throughout my content, you'll hear me tell you something about my cat. My cat is, for lack of a better term, my cat is a very fat, 3-legged cat that doesn't have much thought to it at all. But when it does have thought, it's so clear that he's plotting something. Because all cats have that. Really smart cats and really dumb cats, they all share one trait. When they're thinking, you can tell that they're thinking. You just don't know what it is about. I love that Litten carries that. I think that's great character work. And then the dark tones that go towards Incineroar tell that great story of, oh, it's plotting and it's mischievous and it's going to take you out. And to get to the heal Pokemon of Incineroar is such a great execution. Love me some Litten. Moving on to Popplio. Popplio is so underrated. I'm going to put Popplio right behind Chikorita. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put Popplio ahead of Chikorita. I think Popplio is one of the most underrated Pokemon of all time. I really do. Because I think Popplio, if it's not for the popularity of Litten and Rowlet because of Incineroar and Decidueye, I think people would love and adore Popplio a lot more. Could you imagine if you got Popplio and the Primo Arena line in a Gen 3, 4, where the competition isn't nearly as stiff? Obviously, Oshawott is a great one, but could you imagine Popplio in Gen 5? It's not even a contest which one's the coolest. The lovable, fun circus performer, the appearance is so inviting for a starter Pokemon that's going to start you off on your journey. That is so well done. And then to see the fun-loving aspects of why people love to perform, or why we've always been drawn to performance because of the fun of it, put into Popplio. And then to go to Primarina and to show more of the diva-ish qualities and more of the, you see how important the performance is, but you don't always like the person behind it, is such an amazing characteristic to be drawn or to be designed in a Pokemon. I love the story of that. And Primarina is such a cool Pokemon. But again, it's outdone by Incineroar and Decidueye, which is so hard to do, which is why I think Gen 7 is so well done from a design standpoint of starters. And I really like Brioni too. It's got that weird in between where it's going from I like to perform to I love to perform in this special way. But it still has the derpiness and the lovable nature of a child in it. But then it gets Primarina where it's far more grown, adult, and it's about caring about the craft. That's such a cool concept, and I love that. So Gen 7, I'm clearly very high on with 2 S's and a very high A. I think they're great. And honestly, there's a really big part of me that wants to put Popplio in an S. It's just I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm very, very, very content with saying that. Now moving on, we're going to Gen 8. Gen 8 is a little bit more hit or miss. Grookey to me is a C. Grookey is what I chose in Sword and Shield. I love Grookey, but Grookey evolves into Rillaboom. That's really the problem. Grookey is great. I love the concept. It hints at grass, but it doesn't hit you over the head with grass type. I think that's great and smart design choices. I like that. I love the concept of it carries a stick because it likes to hit stuff with a stick. I adore that. And I think Thwacky, I'm just going to bring Thwacky up because I love Thwacky. Look at this guy. Thwacky's awesome. I don't care what anyone says. I adore Thwacky. And then to get Thwacky into Rillaboom was such a disappointing thing. And I'm someone who, by all rights, should love Rillaboom. Rillaboom is based off of English punk rock. That is the basis for that. I love punk rock. I have a punk rock tattoo. I adore punk rock. And I love the spirit of it. And I hate Rillaboom. I hate it. And Rillaboom's really not that bad of a Pokemon. I really don't hate it. It's just such a great downfall from Grookey. And that's what brings the whole line down. It's just adorable, cute little monkey. Still adorable, fun vibe in Thwacky. With just something different and a little bit more of an edge. And then you go to Rillaboom and you're like, how did we get here? How? It's almost a little Digimonish to me. And it's disheartening. Meanwhile, Scorbunny is an A. Scorbunny is genius. I love Scorbunny because it's very different from a color scheme standpoint. I think it's got a little bit of the Rowlet to it where it's got enough. This gradient through the ears actually gives a really great flame look to it, which is that understated look that I really appreciate in a design. But on top of that, I think a great way to see the fire components of Scorbunny being used in such a unique and different way. If you've not played the new Pokemon Snap, I highly suggest you do. In the first course alone, there's hints at Scorbunny, and then as you get through the game, you can see it more. What a great use of showing the fire elements to Scorbunny. I adore that. And it's got that mischievous rabbit vibe, and I think it's the best bunny Pokemon we've ever got, which is something I've always wanted. Especially growing up in the Midwest near farmlands where, I did grow up in a city, but I had a ton of farm family and I spent a lot of time out, just randomly out on a farm somewhere. You see rabbits, you see bunnies all the time. And it was just a really fun thing. Anytime you saw, it's bunny there. And I just think that's the best bunny we've ever gotten. And it's a great evolutionary line of telling the story because it's what makes, it's clearly based off of soccer, especially once you get to Cinderace. That's not even obviously a question. But I love being a soccer coach myself. It is very appealing to me and very nostalgic for me. But I love how accurate it is in the interpretation of a soccer player. It's always kids start and it wants to do tricks and it wants to have fun. And it's all about just the fun of the game. That's why soccer works. Then you go to Raboot. And Raboot is such a well-designed Pokemon because it's got that hidden teen look to it where I'm a teen and I want to be edgy, but I am also want to be star of the soccer team. So it's a very weird dynamic. And I think Rillaboom hits that really well. And I just like anytime you see a soccer player not in a game, they're constantly in warm-ups. And meaning they're constantly in these bundled up clothes. Raboot is perfect for that. And then to get to Cinderace and to just clearly be a star. Cinderace is a star. And I think that's even hit better with when you hit 7-star raids in Scarlet and Violet. The third Pokemon they chose after Charizard, or the second Pokemon they chose after Charizard was Cinderace, which shows how popular Cinderace is. And yes, I know it coincided with right after the World Cup. That makes a lot of sense. But it still has to be a popular enough Pokemon to do that. And Cinderace is such a cool vibe. But Scorbunny by itself is so good. Scorbunny is an A. I adore it. And then go to Sobble. Sobble is a C. It's brought up by Inteleon. I like Inteleon a lot. But Sobble's just not an endearing vibe to me. Sobble's not my vibe. I would not want to. But the only thing about Sobble that's endearing is it gets to Inteleon. But Sobble's not great. Drizzle's not great. If it was just those two, Sobble would be a D, or I might even argue less than a D. But you get to Inteleon. Inteleon is such a cool concept and such a great execution of the spy motif that they were going with, clearly James Bond inspired and spy movie inspired. I love that for Inteleon. God, it drives me crazy that I can't think of the game, but there was a late '90s, early 2000s game with a spy lizard vibe. I can see the cover of it from the N64 and the PlayStation in my head, but I can't give it to you right now. I think Inteleon hits all those notes really well, and I like Inteleon a lot. So that's why I'd have Sobble as a C. There's just not a lot of appeal to Sobble and Drizzile. But Inteleon, different story. And that's where I would have them. But Gen 8, I still like Gen 8. It's just a lot of variance and not always good. So that's why I'd have Gen 8 where they are. Then we go to Gen 9, finishing off. I'll try to be a little bit quicker with this one because the commentary is going to stay the same. Actually, I'm going to just rank these. Let's try something different. I'm going to rank these and just give you why, because they're all pretty similar. Sprigatito is a B. Fuecoco to me is a C. And Quaxley is a B because of this. They all start as wonderful, adorable, very fun, appealing Pokemon, and they all go places that I don't enjoy all that much. They're not bad Pokemon, they're just not... They don't have that one remarkable starter. Every generation so far, as you can see, has one standout starter or one final evolution starter that at least has a lot of appeal. I don't think Gen 9 has that. I think the biggest shame is Sprigatito, cat, grass, perfectly designed. I love that design. If it was just Sprigatito, it would be Sprigatito a lot higher. But when you get to Mascarda, it's the weird magician carnival performer, and it's the best of the three, which is why Sprigatito is here and not here. But it's just not super appealing. It almost looks a little too Digimonish to me, honestly. I can see where it goes at least, but it's not super appealing. Fuecoco has this wonderful, dumb, derpy energy that you're like, I want that thing to be my friend. I love Fuecoco. It's very appealing. I don't like Skeledirge. It's the biggest problem is this. It's a concept I like. I like pieces of the execution even. I'm not crazy about the color scheme, but I understand it. But I love the idea, the concept and the idea of the crocodile in weight, and it's got the bird on its snout, and it's so smart of a design concept. I just don't like the execution of it, and I hate that carrot top looking flame on the side of its head. I hate it, which really brings Skeledirge down, because I'd like to like Skeledirge, and it just doesn't have it for me. And so again, it's brought down by the last evolution. Quaxley, I love Quaxley. Like I said, I'm prone to birds. I love ducks. I love every duck Pokemon pretty much. I love Farfetch'd. Psyduck is my spirit animal if we want to go to that. I'm a frequent migrainer, so I love Psyduck. I'm soon to get a Psyduck tattoo. I love Ducklet from Gen 5. Quaxley, I love. And I love the vibe it's bringing is this very appearance-driven bird. It's so different from what we normally get from starters. But then to get the carnival dancer that we get is just not super appealing. And I like elements of Quackleval. But I think I can say this for all three of these starters, and I've heard this from many friends as well playing the game. It's the first time I ever felt, and a lot of other people felt, that they didn't need their starter Pokemon in their party. And that's really sucks. because a starter Pokemon, it's the first one you have in a game. You're supposed to develop this love and care for it. And honestly, I leveled up my Quackaville very, very high, and I was in the middle of the Elite Four, and I went, huh, I don't have Quack. Or I did like the last 3 gyms, and right before the Elite Four, I went, huh, Quackaville is not even my party. Maybe I should put it in there. That's absurd. Where I told you in my part one, like there are grass Pokemon I liked in Gen 2, but I rode with Meganium to the end because I love Meganium and it was my starter. And I loved the journey we went on it together. None of Gen 9 starters have that for me. And that's where they're fun designs on their own, but there's not a lot of unity to bring them into I need this Pokemon to stay with me. That's problematic. But that's my opinion on Gen 9. And that's kind of going to do it for me. Still, all these starter Pokemon are done really, really well in some way, shape, or form. And every one of them is somebody's favorite Pokemon. But there are some that clearly shine brighter than others. Gen 6 and 7 in particular, so well done. And Gen 1, so highly well done. You can't say enough good things. But starter Pokemon, they have a special place in our heart for a reason. And that's why I want to redo this and really give the time and attention to it. More so than the first attempt I made at this video. So, by all means, I'd love to hear who's your favorite starter. Make your own rankings. Like I said, I'm going to post the link to Tiermaker inside the description video to this, as well as part 1. And if you somehow didn't see part 1, please go back and watch it. I'd love to see what you think about it. And if you always, please can, like, subscribe. It always helps me out. And comment, especially. I want to know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And follow me. It's YouTube. It's Instagram. It's Twitch. Pokemon Trainer Evan. Super easy. I want to engage with you. So please help me out and do that for me. But in the meantime, and in between time, have a wonderful day. I'll see you later. Peace.